Welcome back to the final category of the UK Public Sector Transformation Awards. And I'm going to hand straight on now to John Comber, my co-host, who will lead you through this section and introduce you to our guests. John.
Welcome back. I am delighted to be able to go through the finalists in the iESE category of UK Council of the Year. This category is for councils that are deemed outstanding in transforming their services and creating vibrant communities. UK Council of the Year is usually only awarded to one local authority, but due to the outstanding nature of the nominations this year, iESE has decided to award gold, silver and bronze in this category. They're not being decided today, that will be decided at a later date, but today's event is the announcement of the finalists, who are Abingdon Mid Suffolk District Council, Mid and East Antrim Borough Council and Wigan Council. And I'd like to invite the representatives from each of the organisations to join me. For Babbage and Mid Suffolk District Council, Arthur Shanovi, Chief Exec, Councillor John Ward, Leader of Babbage District Council. Welcome to you. For Mid and East Antrim Borough Council, Alderman Audrey Wowes and Chief Exec Anne Donaghy, OBE. Welcome to you. And from Wigan Council, Councillor David Moninex and Alison Mackenzie Foden, Chief Exec. Welcome to you. I'm going to go through each of you and ask you to talk about your nomination. We've got about 5 minutes for each of you, so if you could stick to time, but it's really about you talking about what you've been doing in your authority, how it relates to your communities and the sorts of outcomes that you've been achieving. So if we start with Babbage and Mid Suffolk District Council, and Arthur and John, please, if you could outline for us what you've been doing and what sort of achievements.
Thank you, John, and thank you for the introduction, and well done with the names, because I know my surname and the name of Baber District Council in particular is a challenge for people, so well done with that. So I'm just going to briefly talk, if I can, and I'll try and stick to time, not known for that as Chief Executive, but try and stick to time and talk about where we've been on a journey, as you say, in terms of transformation for the Baber District Council and for Mid Suffolk District Council. And it's been a 10-year transformation, starting with us first working together back in 2011, aligning our workforces, aligning our IT, aligning our processes and integrating them to really operate as one organisation, moving then to having a single public sector service hub. So we moved out of our 2 headquarters and co-located with the County Council and the 2 clinical commissioning groups. And what that enabled us to do was both redevelop our old sites. So those are now being redeveloped as over 150 new homes for local residents. It actually means we're based slightly outside of our districts ourselves, which I think makes us the only councils in the country now to be based outside of their own patch. But what it's meant is we've been able to focus really all of our resources on those who most need us, those who need our community support, and which has come to the fore, of course, through the course of the last year with COVID in the way in which we've been operating. So we've had agile working in place long before COVID came along, but I don't think we realised quite how much we had agile and digital working in place. It's really been stretched, and we've optimised that opportunity, including through things like our customer service, which has just been seamless. So our services have been barely impacted by COVID, which I'm sure not many other authorities can say, but we've continued to build on that. We've moved in terms of having moved into the cabinet model so that we could have simultaneous cabinet meetings, so both councils can make decisions together. And last year we adopted our new corporate plan, a joint corporate plan with 6 priorities. But the real transformation over the last 12 months is moving from those large set piece transformation pieces to seeing embedded transformation and innovation across the whole of the organisation. And I put that down to 3 things, really. Maximising technology and innovation linked to our values. We're very much a values-driven organisation through the commitment from all of our staff and our councillors to deliver local place-based solutions across our 2 rural districts. And then the other 2 elements are very much mantras of ours, which is try something new, make mistakes, actively make mistakes. And if it doesn't work, change it and try it again. And we encourage our staff and our councillors to be working in the margins. So not within the service areas that they technically have been employed by, but working in those margins between our services, between our organisations, between the different community elements, and effectively outside of their own lane in order to drive improvement and transformation for the residents of the two districts. So we've built on that pioneering joint working, as I say, over a period of 10 years, but we've really now embedded it across everything that we do, making sure that we get the most impact for those most in need, whilst also being very fleet and foot and using the technology to make sure that we continue to thrive, leading the way in terms of virtual democracy, for example, making sure that people can't just access the meetings and watch them on YouTube, but actively engage with them, putting all the information at their fingertips, delivering future housing, supporting our communities, and ultimately building places that people are proud to continue to call their homes. And so I'll just give a couple of specific examples, if I may, John. There are two within the awards elsewhere, which are specifically the virtual high street and what we've done specifically in relation to planning enforcement. So I won't repeat those because there's case studies of those already. But if I pull out another couple, over the course of the year, so in the last 9 months, effectively, we've been able to build a central Suffolk, so across our two districts, letting scheme, private letting scheme, a guaranteed rent scheme, and an independent living service, all at the same time, recognising the real challenge of homelessness and more housing challenges more broadly that COVID has exacerbated. They were there already, but clearly it's been exemplified by the increased inequalities. And in particular, just to give a small example, really proud of the fact that we took one property that was returned to us, unusually was returned to us during the pandemic, and without the help of Nick Knowles, we managed to turn that property around within 5 days to go from what was a derelict property for one family and turn it into multiple temporary accommodation units, so that within 5 days from receiving the keys, we were handing them straight back over again, so that we had people who would otherwise be homeless housed in temporary accommodation in a really vital way for people's, both their health and obviously for their mental well-being over the course of the last 12 months. And then the other one that I was just going to briefly mention in the 5 minutes is not only have we done the virtual high street activity, which I mentioned before, but we've focused on innovation. We've made innovation the real driving point of our economic plan. So whereas in the past, like most councils, we might have had business awards, we've turned that into innovation awards. We've had an event, a virtual event, felt a little bit like the Eurovision Song Contest at times. It had its moments, but we had a virtual event for those innovation awards, and we've then built on that, having an innovation cluster. We now have a network of events going forward. And we've got within our two districts, we have a enterprise zone site. Really pleased that that's now been turned into a Freeport assessment following the Chancellor's announcement only a couple of weeks ago. And that is a £27 million investment for us as a district council in building what will be one of the largest business enterprise zone sites in the region. But really critical to that, sitting right at the heart of it, will also be an innovation cluster, an innovation centre, to make sure that we're not just building jobs, but we're building the kind of jobs that we need, so that our communities don't just survive through the last 9 to 12 months, but really thrive as we come out and really properly start to recover and follow the government's route map. I don't know if I'm on 5 minutes, John, but I'll stop.
You are pretty on time. John, would you like to add anything?
A couple of things. I think on the use of technology, a lot of that has actually been driven by our residents, our customers, that they are certainly changing the way they want to interact with us, and we've responded very flexibly to meet that. We're changing our whole customer access strategy. We've got a new face-to-face access point that we're opening up in our largest town, Sudbury, but that is only part of it. The use of that is declining, and in response, we're increasing very much our online interaction. The latest has been the use of chatbot technology, which we've started to implement and trial, and that's working very well and receiving very good support. In terms of the virtual high street that Arthur mentioned, that again was rolled out very quickly and is now we're now proposing to roll it out to our other towns. But the problems we have, we are two rural districts. We have small market towns, very small market towns, and so they have their own challenges, which are different from larger cities and larger conurbations because of a lack of population, and consequently our businesses need
specific support to help them. And what we're trying to do, not just with the use of technology, but also the visioning work that we're doing for our major towns, which is Sudbury and Stowmarket, trying to work out how we can redesign our market towns so that they are fit for the future and can continue to grow and thrive, and the businesses there do get the support they need in order to make them attractive towns to visit. So that's pretty much all I'd like to say at this stage. Thank you.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Can I, for Mid and East Antrim Borough Council, ask Audrey and Katrina to do the same, please? Outline what you've been doing and some of the achievements.
Okay, thank you very much, John. And can I congratulate all our finalists this morning and say to all of you a very happy St. Patrick's Day. COVID-19 created a sense of panic and confusion among the public, putting pressure on council's response teams across sectors, including waste, community planning, economic development and leisure. And we needed to share expert advice from our stakeholders in health and government, but also outline how this impacted our council services. Our website quickly became a reliable and trusted source of information on everything from providing food and medical supplies to vulnerable members of our community, to the financial and logistical support available to businesses from statutory agencies. Through regular engagement with the Northern Ireland Executive, Police Service of Northern Ireland and the Public Health Agency, we remain committed to delivering singular, consistent messages throughout our borough. Mid and East Antrim Borough Council has demonstrated an incredible resilience and passion that drives even the toughest of challenges, and it is against this backdrop that our team has risen to drive the borough into the next phase of economic growth. We were focused with the closure of 3 major companies, resulting in the loss of over 2,500 highly paid manufacturing jobs, with a drop of 13.5% in our DVA, the highest in the UK. We had to take action. We established a manufacturing task force, and as a result of its success, we are now working with the Minister for the Economy to extend this task force Northern Ireland-wide, having already created a Northern Ireland-wide buy and supply portal. Now hand over to Anne.
Yeah, thank you. Everything that we do, is for our business and for our local residents. We're very focused. We are pro-business, so we are the #1 planner in Northern Ireland, and we have very good results. We have over 100 companies working with a manufacturing task force, all working to help each other. We've set up a tourism and hospitality group for all of our tourism people, our bed and breakfast, our hotels, and we've set up a town centre task force to take our 3 main towns to support each other economically through our Chamber of Commerce. We also have a big focus on women in business and entrepreneurs, and we support our business improvement district. We have a city deal, and we engage our local businesses and investors through our investment strategy to get business and to be involved in that. And we have an online business information suite for all of our businesses. Through COVID, we have engaged one-to-one with 1,500 businesses. And in our community, we have identified 900 stars, local community heroes, for what they've done on the ground. We have a community plan, and we call it Putting People First, because that's what we do. We have 6 community hubs right across the borough, and that ties in every single community group. They work together. It cuts across social, political and religious divides and brings us together stronger. And that delivers a real togetherness in that community. So it's really, really strong, and that's supported by a dedicated call centre and community officers to each one of those hubs. So we do a lot of signposting with vulnerable groups, and we support. And for example, through COVID, we knocked 4,000 doors where we knew people were vulnerable to offer them help. We also have our COVID call centre. We've had 20,000 people through this. And in terms of outcomes, some of the outcomes that we have, we measure through our corporate plan. We review that all the time, but we've achieved £80 million for our city deal to regenerate our town, to also help in terms of tourism and innovation centres. We have been final shortlist for the Heathrow Hub development, and whilst it's on hold, we still remain there. And what we did, we developed a Northern Ireland supply chain that we led up to make that submission. We are the first, we've launched the first training academy for hydrogen in Northern Ireland, and we are in the leading field in terms of hydrogen development, along with Joe Bamford and through the Prime Minister as well. So we also are the first council in Northern Ireland to decouple our rates. So we charge our business less now this year because we are trying to get them economically secure again. We've also secured large swathes of land from the people, from the manufacturers that left our borough. We got free land from them to let us economically develop, and we've created jobs in that way to secure the community. Through COVID, we kept all our vital services open, and we were the only council in Northern Ireland to keep our household recycling centres open all of the time. And that was very politically challenging, but we did it because it was right. And we continued through COVID to deliver on our capital investment plan. We've reduced our absenteeism over the last 4 years from 19% to 10.5%. And we've also nearly completed the negotiation on new terms and conditions for all our employees to allow for a better work-life balance and more agile working. We've also developed a thing called MEA United, where we've brought our 3 leading Irish Premiership teams together and the 215 football teams below that of youth, and to bring it together to build new stadia funding and to look for £24 million of funding from government. In the last 6 months, the first 6 months of the year, we delivered 76% of our corporate plan, even though it was COVID, even though dealing with that. And we've introduced, I suppose, the first in the world in terms of a new reward for waste scheme, where the community is rewarded for the waste that they recycle. And very proudly, we've led up the first ever local government wellbeing and mental health strategy for 12,000 employees across local government in Northern Ireland. And we also are a Tech 5 organisation, autism friendly, white ribbon. Just a minute. We have an age control, an age well model, etc. So hopefully that gives you a feel for the width of and the breadth of the stuff that we're trying to achieve.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Anne. And if I can turn now to Wigan Council and David and Alison, if you can do the same, please.
Oh, thank you so much, and thank you for the invite today. And lovely to hear all the learning and listen to everybody else's achievements. So heartwarming, isn't it? David and I, my leader and I, are probably not going to go through the detail that's in the submission. So perhaps a bit more about our approach and who we are in Wigan and what it means to be Wigan, and if that's okay. So if you don't mind, if we take a slightly different approach. So
absolutely.
Is that okay? Yeah. So from the heart and what we're about here. So in Wigan, I think we've been working for so long on the Wigan deal. You may have heard it in local government circles, and it's been our response probably for the last sort of 10 years in terms of how we responded to austerity when the government introduced measures back in 2010, and we were quoted as one of the worst affected in England. And recognising those challenges over the last 10 years, we decided that we needed a fundamental new approach to local government services. And if we were to continue providing services, we would need to just cut budgets. And what we wanted to do was actually nurture new relationships, new ways of working between public services and our residents and our communities, and particularly with our businesses, to find better solutions. Obviously, all the while meeting our budget challenges and creating a better borough. So for us, the way we work and the deal is based on sort of several key principles, and that's central to what we do. And it's about asset-based working, whereby as public servants, we seek to build on the strengths and assets of individuals and connect our residents to the thriving assets in their communities. Before the pandemic, we saved about 150 million since 2010, often replacing sort of expensive or underused services, instead with investment in our communities via a community investment fund, which our political leaders signed up to over the last 7 years, pumping millions into communities. We decommissioned traditional services that our residents no longer wanted or did not fulfil their needs. things like traditional day centres, and instead we've invested in community activity, community enterprise, social enterprise that align to what people want and need. And they're really embedded in our communities, things that make them happy, allowing them to have their best days. In the case of health and social care services, the relationships that we've really promoted puts the power back in the hands of residents, emphasising a working with rather than a doing to, and really empowering people to take control of their own lives and their own health and well-being. For us and our workforce, the deal means to innovate, to share ideas and to implement them and be brave and courageous. And our values sit behind everything that we do and in our DNA, being positive, being accountable, being courageous and being kind. And that's what it's all about in Wigan in terms of delivering our public services with humanity and with compassion. Our strategy then for the next 10 years has been around Deal 2030, something for the whole borough. And to make that strategy, we sat down with residents, having a conversation, listening to their ideas. Over 6,000 residents contributed across 83 locations. And the central theme is around Together We Will, a pledge that if we all work together to make the borough the best place it can possibly be. And we set out our 10 priorities with our residents and our part and your part, what we can do as a council, but what our residents, businesses and communities need to do. And they're across 10 key principles. In terms of the asset-based working, what we see in people is not a statistic or an assessment. It's about having a different conversation, which unlocks deeper insight, the way we listen to people in our lives. And what we do is seek to nurture the strengths, passions and talents of individuals, families and communities, rather than focus on what they can't do in their lives. It's about connecting residents to the thriving assets we have in our communities, promoting self-reliance and independence, whether that's in the voluntary sector to improve health and well-being, or whether it's in less formal groups such as book clubs and voluntary groups, physical assets such as our parks and libraries and leisure centres, or building connections just with their friends and families and neighbours and focusing on those personal relationships. Our aim is to support people to live their best lives rather than fitting them into inflexible, tradition and often expensive services, making genuine connections with residents and helping create a happy place. To embed this, we've done a strong workforce culture approach. We have a Team Wigan here. We've rolled out our Be Wigan and Be Wigan manager experience, so all staff understand what it is to be asset-based workers and what the deal means. We've also now extended that into practice into the health sector, and we've not stopped there. Our Deal for Healthier Wigan experience really works across all our health partners, taking a new workforce approach across the system and really trying to get those same principles and those asset-based approaches. And I'm going to hand over to the leader now, and he's going to talk about how all of this approach has really helped us really accelerate this innovation through COVID-19. Thanks, leader.
Thanks, Alison.
Thanks, Alison. Yeah, just picking up from where Alison's been telling you about the deal, and it's certainly something that when we introduced back in 2010, and I can give you a bit of information about that. I was thrown in front of national television to talk about the deal, and quite honestly, we didn't know what the deal was about at that time, but I got through it and survived. And it was all about explaining to people how, and having an honest conversation with people. I think local government from 2010 onward probably faced the biggest financial challenges that it ever had. And I think that's been exaggerated some slightly during COVID in terms of the challenges that we're now facing up to. And I think because of what we'd set in place with the deal in terms of working with our community and looking at the community as an asset, not telling them what we're going to do to you. We want you to tell us what we want to do together. And we had a very good partnership working relationship, which has certainly come to the fore during COVID. We've certainly built on our partnership relationships, certainly with health and certainly with many other sectors during this challenging time. And listening to all of the councils this morning, I think it's very clear the people who are going to respond best and take us out of this is local government. I think we are the best responders and the best people to deal with the crisis that we've faced. And we took some challenging decisions in terms of investing in our communities. We were taking 150 million out of our budget, and yet we still said we're going to invest 12 to 15 million within our communities. and the response we got back from that was absolutely brilliant. And this time, again, during my budget speech, we changed again this year. We're going to do something different. As many local authorities, as you know, across the country are facing severe financial crises in terms of cuts and what they need to reduce in services. We're not going to do that in Wigan. I'm going to take 100 apprentices on, 100 apprentices and graduates, because I think we've got to give this younger generation that's coming out of this the best opportunities in life. And I think you'll all agree, sometimes local government has to take the lead. We've got to put a marker down and say, this is what we are doing. And certainly we've stood up to that challenge this year in announcing 100 apprenticeships and graduate jobs. And what we're also going to do is still invest again in our community. And we launched a community recovery fund. I'm not sure the Chancellor may have heard me say it because he suddenly mentioned it in his budget speech as well, but I can assure you I had it planned before him. And certainly the community have responded to that in terms of there's nobody going to be abandoned, there's nobody going to be left behind. We're going to make sure that what we do for our community in terms of community wealth building is certainly something that will deliver results. And although we're part of a regional devolved authority in Greater Manchester, Wigan certainly has its own identity in that, and we'll certainly make the best of it going forward. And another thing we do, and I can recommend it to anybody, is listening to staff. 4,000 staff, and many of your staff will be residents as well. And I think the conversations that we do have with them is absolutely vital in terms of what we want to deliver for our community. Thank you, John.
That's fantastic, thank you. I'm going to cycle back through you all, so starting with Arthur and John, and just ask you to say in the 5 minutes or so we've got left, so 2 minutes each for each of the organisations, what's been most important to your journey in your view? What are the most important elements, and what would you, if you were starting at the end, what's the one thing you would change?
Shall I go first, John? I think for me, and I would say this, and I'm deeply jealous of the other authorities, having heard how many staff they have, because we've got just over 550, I think it is. So just in terms of comparisons, it's interesting to make that. But it is absolutely the thing that's made the difference is that embedded values for me. It's making sure that there is a clarity of this is an organisation that understands its staff, understands its communities, and bluntly cares. And therefore, that runs through everything we do, because that's the enabler that enables staff and enables councillors and enables our communities to know that they can do those different things, that they can push the boundaries, and that I've got, John's got, my other leader has got their backs ultimately, because if they're doing the right things that they think are for their communities, then that can only be right and proper. And that's what engenders the innovation. That's what enables us to be able to push forward in this way, and to be glass half full, I suppose, because COVID has been devastating, don't get me wrong at all, and my heart goes out to all those communities and our residents and our friends and families who've been deeply impacted by it. But it also presented to us huge opportunities, and we need to grasp those and build on that going forward. Fantastic. John?
Yes, thanks. So just to pick up on that, certainly over the past year, the response from staff and councillors alike in terms of helping our communities through COVID has been phenomenal. Everyone has put in all of the extra hours that's been required, and it has been quite heartwarming to see that. But from my point of view, in terms of the journey, the two councils working together, the important thing is it has been member driven. The councillors from both councils agree to this and have helped in terms of ensuring that all of the work that we're doing is geared to that working together for the benefit of the two districts, because together we are able to do far more than we would have been apart. That I think for me is the important thing, that the members understand that, and particularly now we've got the cabinet model, the two cabinets, the individual cabinet members working with their assistant directors in their portfolios, driving those through to achieve the innovation and change that we need, but also as we have simultaneous cabinet meetings, as the two cabinets get together, in informal meetings. They understand each other, work together very well, and we have within the portfolios the meetings are with the two cabinet members together, so that there is joint discussions, joint working, and joint understanding of the problems of the two districts and how we can solve those together. So that for me has been probably the best thing going forward.
That's great, thank you. Can I have the same for Mid and East Antrim Borough Council, Audrey and Anne?
I think, John, perhaps the thing that really has impressed me is how we have empowered our community over this pandemic, and how well that they're working together, and how our staff work together as Team Mid and East Antrim Borough Council. While they focused on dealing with the pandemic, they also were focused on looking forward and planning for the future with items like our hydrogen hub and our advanced manufacturing centre. So they have really worked to look after us while we were in a pandemic, but for the future, hopefully, which is going to be rosy for us. Thank you.
That's fantastic. Anne?
Yeah, we have a thing right across the borough for business, community, staff, every councillors, the lot. #MEA, #Team MEA. We work as a team, all right across. So we are very people first. Like, I know the businesses really well. We have personal relationships with business, with community, and we're hands-on. Hands-on is how we do it. We share. We are a sharing council in that we share our good practice across Northern Ireland and other councils. We've also built up, for example, the North Channel Partnership, where we're working with Dunphy and Galloway to help them to secure the money for the A77, A75. And we really lobbied with them with the Union Connectivity Review to get that on the agenda, because that will allow us from the Port of Larne right through that whole infrastructure, right through to bring the UK together. What's really important for us is that we keep a key part of the UK with all the Northern Ireland Protocol being implemented, and as a key port in our borough of the Port of Larne, it is so important to us that we keep our union connectivity strong. I suppose for me, I think that really pushes in our organisation, really passionate, like the energy and the passion in the chamber and in the management and the staff. And we have courage. We do things that others don't do. And just like the colleague said, Councillor David, really and truly, it's something we have to push on and find a way is what we say. I suppose our approach to business is, we look at the council as a business, not just a public sector organisation. So business, how do we make the money go further? How do we get more money in? And how do we use that in the best way to improve the health and well-being of our people and to support them and for them to feel that they are part of the council? And I suppose that's what's important, that people own and feel that this is my council. There is an appetite. So thank you. I'll finish there. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, David and Alison, for you.
Do you want to go first, leader, or do you want me to? Me, okay. You're just turning your mic off. So I think in answer to your question, John, I think the sort of harnessing and mobilising the principles of the deal have been sort of the key reflection. The message behind Be Kind movement, which I think I've got in the box there, haven't I? Yeah, I have. So we've got different ones, actually. We've got different colours and different scenes, but it's that one today. I think that's been the overwhelming force and message behind our COVID response, whether it's amongst our staff, our councillors, our partners, communities, businesses, residents. I think we've retained the best of humanity, haven't we? And I think that's what we've really learned. Actually, if we really, we really care, we're really compassionate, we really have that community-focused approach, we can, we've seen what's happened, haven't we? And for me, I think, as David said, listening to our staff, overnight, 800 staff stepped into different roles. So they suddenly became, adult care workers when they were really accountants, whatever it was. And, to think what they've done and the resilience that they've put in over the last, the last year is just unbelievable, incredible and heartwarming. And if I'm having a bad day, I go on our staff Facebook page. We've got a Facebook for staff, private. We've probably got about 2,000 or 3,000 staff on there now. And I look at the stories and I realise how incredibly lucky we are to have the most amazing staff, because they just tell their stories on there of what they're doing to support residents, change their lives, and really work in a brave, courageous way. So the leader might want to say a last few words, but that would be my reflection.
Yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic, and I was picking up what Anne was saying about waste recycling centres, and we were the only waste recycling centres open in the north of England, so you can imagine the kind of pressure that we were under. But you can understand, once again, how our staff responded, and I went up to visit the waste recycling centre, and suddenly there were two young ladies who I normally see on reception in the town hall, directing traffic and telling people what they could take in and what they couldn't. So we had an excellent response. And on top of that, we had to try to deal with a football club that nearly went bump. So it was added pressures of COVID and everything else that was going on. But the fact of the staff and how they responded, and our community groups were brilliant, absolutely. And we got something like 1,000 volunteers, I think, at the end of it. And what we want to do going forward is keep them engaged. We think it is important that you do keep your communities on side. It will be a challenge to us all as we come out of this, but I think we've got the right building blocks in place to do it successfully. Thank you, John.
And I thank you all for your contributions. We're out of time, and in fact I've run over a little bit, but we were slightly delayed to start, which is my licence to have run over. You are brilliant finalists. Your stories shine through with your enthusiasm and your approaches. I thank you for taking part today. I look forward to meeting you all at the September event, hopefully, fingers crossed, with bugs permitting. And I hand back now to Andrew to wrap up things. Thanks very much for your contributions. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. Well, thank you all. Thanks, John.
We seem to have a frozen Andrew.
Yep.
We'll give him a minute and see if he recovers.
If we're having a game of musical statues, Andrew's won, by the way.
This is, well, give him another minute, and if not, I will do my best to fill his end piece.
Well, it's St Patrick's Day here, so we could have a wee toast from over in Northern Ireland here.
Give us a song, yeah.
Yeah. Just don't
Go for it,
Yeah.
He's going.
Yeah, he's gone. He may try to log back in. So if I just begin the wrap up, and we'll see if he joins us. The award ceremony for the Public Sector Transformation Awards 2021 is scheduled for Wednesday, the 8th of September. There will be the awarding the finalists with bronze, silver, or gold in their categories. This two-day event will be available to play back and watch on our YouTube channel and our website in the links given below. As a reminder, all of the finalists that we've seen over the last 2 days have created a video to showcase their award-winning nominations, which are available to watch now they've been announced. And I thank you all for that. All videos will be pulled into a special edition of the Transform magazine, both physical and virtual, which will be available to view on Wednesday afternoon. And I reiterate Andrew's comments that magazine is of such interest, it's now being read in 69 different countries. So this really is best practice being showcased around the world for local public services. And the brilliance of the submissions that we've been through this year cannot be underestimated. I've read all the submissions what you're doing at the front line, what you're doing with your communities, your residents, your businesses, your stakeholders is absolutely unbelievable given the backdrop of a pandemic, years of financial constraint and spiralling demand from society in general. So I thank you all for your efforts. Thank you very much for being online with us. I apologise for Andrew's loss of signal, but the IT gods favour some and not others sometimes. So thank you all very much. Goodbye and see you.